She stands,
under God,
one nation, under God,
with liberty
indivisible,
and justice.
liberty and justice for all.
for all. General Manager Mark Van, do we have a quorum?
President Unger, all directors are present. We have a quorum.
Yay. Now I'll have a look at the agenda and I will ask for approval of the agenda. Anyone have any discussion about it? Then I'm going to go down the line here. Director Doolittle.
Regarding the agenda,
Approval of the agenda.
I approve the agenda.
Director Jarlsberg.
C.
Director Reynolds.
Aye.
President
Vice President,
Unger,
Vice President
President
Flowen.
Unger,
Yes.
we don't need a vote to approve the agenda.
Oh. Oh, okay, that's right.
typically
That's
do.
That's a motion and a second.
It's okay, but let's just, everybody, you can approve the agenda.
Ay, ay, ay. See what happens when you don't have meetings that often? Okay, when you skip them. Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I have Mike Reynolds and Tom Flowen.
Okay. Got it.
You have a motion and a second. The agenda is approved.
All those in favor?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Spring vacation. Do we have any public comment at this
There
time?
is no public comment.
Public comment. This is gonna. Item number 6, consent agenda. Matters on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted in a single motion without discussion. Any board member or member of the public can request that an item be removed from the consent calendar and acted on separately. Tonight we have the December 2020 check register, the draft minutes of our January 20th meeting, and the 2021 salary schedule.
Let's see. What do we say, Madam President? No, we don't say that. What do we say?
Director Jarlsberg, I'll make it easy.
I have to apologize. I did not come to the Finance Committee as a silent partner. I had to go to the dentist instead. And so I have some questions about the report.
This is the time for those questions?
Okay, I don't feel like it's enough to pull it from being passed, but just questions. Okay.
Can we do that without pulling it?
I don't know.
It would be better to
Pull it?
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I would typically I would pull it for discussion, vote on the rest of the consent calendar, and then you can discuss that item and pass it separately.
Okay, let's do that. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar minus the December 2020 check register?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Director Jarlsberg, go ahead.
Yeah, and I apologize. You said you wanted a short meeting.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Nope. Being relatively new, there are some items on it that I'm unfamiliar with, and so I had a lot of question marks.
Okay.
On page 3 of 24 of the Finance Committee packet, Copper Mountain Media, KXCMFM. I was surprised to see that. Where does that show up? We're having publicity apparently on it.
Yeah, that's actually a radio station that runs ads for those separate items there.
Okay. Do you know the call numbers, or how do we get to it? Is it through the college?
It's 96.3.
Okay. But it's a college. Oh no, it's Copper Mountain. It doesn't say college. So
No, it's a radio station. It's not affiliated with the college.
oh, okay. All right, thank you. I want to check it out.
Country music.
Yeah, well, I want to check out if we're you know, if we're publicizing that, I want to know what's going on.
Good station.
And down just below there, Department of Interior, BLM, right-of-way rental, 2021, $16,000. What is that and where is that?
These are actually for a number of easements that the district has with the Bureau of Land Management for a large project that we had that we referred to the Copper Mesa Assessment District. So it's various pipelines and appurtenances that we have easements with them.
Okay, so it's a lump together several projects then that go on to BLM property.
Several easements, correct? Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, the Inland Waterworks, I think they're the company that's working with you for the infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yeah. So this.
They have a 229,000 inventory. Does that just mean the pipes they gave us? I mean, that we bought from them or something? Or what is that?
So there's two large bids that we'll release every year as part of our CIRP program, and one of those is for pipe, and the other one is for things like valves and fire hydrants, other appurtenances. And actually, Inland Waterworks won this particular bid for the inventory for valves and other appurtenances for that pipeline job for Tilford.
Oh, for Tilford. Okay. All right. Yeah, I remembered hearing the name of the company, but I didn't. Inventory is like a lump sum, and I just wonder what it might be.
Yeah, and I apologize. I think this one might be for the pipe. And do you know off the top of your head if that one's for the pipe? I think it is.
I believe it's for the pipe.
Yeah, it's for the pipe.
Okay.
And we put that into inventory before it's utilized. So once they actually use it, they pull it out of inventory and then it goes to the project.
Okay, then if there's any leftovers, it just stays in our inventory?
Well, I hope in this case, yeah, that they can reuse it for or use it for the next year's CIRP project.
So it's kind of standard supplies?
Yes.
Okay.
And they actually won the bid for the parts and material too, which is going to be close to that amount as well, coming up on a check register in the future here. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, I realize this is a couple months old, so going into the past. Okay. Oh, this is just a note of interest. Killer bee pest control. Do we have killer bees here? I want to know.
It's just the bees that get into the meter boxes. It just happens to be the name of the company. No, it just happens to be the name of the company.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't think they made it here from Mexico. Okay.
I mean, they might be, but I'm not sure about that.
Got it. Okay. Where are we here?
They've hauled out some pretty big, like, combs, the honeycombs and stuff.
Yeah.
We had some in the office where I really, and they're
interesting.
I think they try to remove them humanely just to get them
right
out.
I'll take them if you don't find a home for them. I need them. My trees need them. And then I thought we had a discussion a while ago, maybe a month or so ago, about the fact that we're not getting a free announcement of our meetings at K107, KCDZ FM. And that was partly because we're not paying for advertising, but there's an advertising amount here of $375, which I'm assuming is like one advertisement or for some period of time. So I was wondering, is this a regular thing or was it a one-time shot or?
I was looking for Kathleen. I don't see
those.
Kathleen can't make it tonight, President.
Oh, okay.
But most of those items that you see on the country station there, the Copper Mountain Media, Kathleen will purchase blocks from Z1077, which is more of a recent item that we have on our check register in providing them some of the advertising as well. So those items will run as blocks on Z1077 as well.
Okay, but that means that if we go to them for free announcements, PSAs, we're actually paying for some advertising. That was the discussion we had, I believe.
Gary has a very different attitude about stuff like
I
that.
understand, and I've been in this community long enough to know that, but I actually knew him back in the 80s when I was here, so. Okay, let me see. Couple more. Oh, there's a pro video. I believe this is for Bob Stevenson's recordings of the meetings. It says YouTube board meetings, September, November.
Right.
But I've tried to find those recordings, and so I wanted to know where they are.
If you
I've
put
looked
in
at
JBWD Board of Directors and the date, it should pop up right away.
Say that again, huh?
Put in JBWD Board of Directors and put in the date of the board meeting. It should pop up right away. We have had problems with YouTube, and so I enlisted Bob to put them on there so they could get on there quickly. So
yeah, good. Okay, well, I'll look for I have looked for it. I looked at under his YouTube and on our website and various places. So anyway, I'll keep looking. And then the other thing is, I really don't know what this is. Halfway down that same page, SWRCB fees, there's 4 of them listed. And one of them's for $20,000. It's something to do with their water treatment, it looks like. But are we paying to get rid of the waste? Is that it? I'm not sure what that is.
Those are actually fees for the State Water Resources Control Board. So those are annual fees associated with our permit. And I'm not seeing, which page are you on?
On page 5 of 24.
Or 5 of 21 on the board agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the committee.
That's okay, because you wrote your stuff on that one.
So
So
we
go
have,
ahead.
we have 2 renewals there for our employees, a D1 and a D4 renewal.
Oh, okay.
Reimbursements to our employees, I believe, right, Ann? And,
Yes.
And we have discharge fees there for the wastewater treatment plant. That's for HDMC. So
And for the hospital.
those are just pass-through costs there that we get back with an administrative charge from the hospital.
Oh, okay.
I believe that next one is for ours, maybe going out into the wash, but another annual permit fee to the state.
Okay, so there's annual fees then that show up in December, I guess.
Yeah, except for the renewals there, employees are required to renew their certificates every 3 years. So
okay.
that'll be kind of intermittent.
Okay, so that's State Water Regional, what is it? SW
State Water Resources Control Board.
Resources. All right, thank you. None on that page. Wow. Okay, the last item on the last page of the check register. Another alphabet soup. I don't know. ICMA space RC.
You got the acronym for that one, Ann?
No, I looked it up and I've already forgotten again.
Same thing last time.
But it's our retirement plan, our 457 that the employees contribute to throughout the year. And so monthly you see their contributions being remitted. However, in December, the district remits the district's portion, the employer portion of that plan. So the 3960 is the employee portion, and the 11619 is the annual employer contribution.
Okay, cool. I didn't notice the 457. I kind of vaguely am aware of that number. All right, I thank you very much for your patience.
Very good, very good. Do I have a motion then to approve the December 2020 check register, if there are no other questions?
Shall I move that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll move to accept the financial report as submitted.
The December 2020 check register.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
It's more than that.
Second?
Pardon?
Is there a second?
I second.
Thanks, Tom.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 7 is changes to rules and regulations, Article 1. And Ann Roman, take it away.
All right, good evening. I wanted to first mention that the Finance Committee did review this topic on February 17th. This particular discussion is about Article 1, portions of Article 1, which is a hybrid of customer service and finance related topics. At this time, I'm really only addressing financial aspects of the article with one minor exception. And so I have been working for approximately the past 6 months with our accounts receivable technician, who is intimately involved in the day-to-day collection efforts here, and our attorney, Jeff Hoskinson, to refine areas of Article 1 of the district's rules and regulations that relate to debt collection. We're also trying to refine areas related to how we establish and disconnect those accounts and how the debt collection plays into those functions. So effective debt collection, which enables the district to reduce or avoid bad debt that would be collectively borne by other ratepayers of the district, must be considered through the entire process. Accounts that are not established properly or appropriately, for example, perhaps not in the legal owner's name, may limit our collection options and or practical follow-through ability. So in October of 2019, the district adopted the owner request for tenant water service, also known as the ORTWS, because we love our acronyms here, with to help with managing remaining tenant debt. This new requirement still needed some clarification, and so that's what we're trying to do here. In addition, the district began charging for basic lock fees on locked meters in 2016, and that area and its impact on debt collection still needed some additional refinement in the rules and regs. So the attached revisions will better indicate how to handle bad debt collection during account establishment and upon disconnection for various types of customers. So we have a lot of different types of customers that we're dealing with. To better formulate useful changes to the affected sections of the rules and regs, our AR technician has greatly assisted in preparing internal processes in the form of reference tables to track the complex flow of information through the JBWD cycle for different types of customers. Developing these processes in conjunction with the proposed rule updates will provide much needed guidance to our customer service representatives on the front end and a better ability for us to follow through on the collections end. While these detailed internal processes are not included here for your review, I do note that their development greatly aided in improving the attached proposed changes. So essentially, what we're trying to do here is clarify and organize the rules to better meet the original intent. The scattered language that related to past due collections that was included in Articles 1.9.3 and 1.11, as well as 1.29, has now been consolidated into Article 1.29. It is also revised into a more narrative, from a narrative format to a numbered outline format that helps us with searchability. So also with the cooperation of the Director of Administration, that's Sarah, we have a few minor updates to Article 1.3 as well. So I didn't want to go through these line by line. There was a lot, but basically it was moving a lot of things around. So in my finance packet, I had the markup of the original rules and regs, and I'm not sure why they didn't make it into this packet, but you have here the resolution with the final language, the final changed language, and I can answer any questions that you may have about specific changes. But basically, that is what it's about. And this particular change also could have some fiscal impact if we're able to reduce or avoid bad debt because we can improve our collections. And I also wanted to mention that this is a strategic plan item, 4.1.2.1, develop collection system. And this is an ongoing effort that we have undertaken over the last years to really document and explain internally what our collection system is and how it's supposed to work, and make sure that we all internally understand it well and are able to do our part in a way that is cohesive. So with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. Yes, it did go through the Finance Committee, and in our packet for that, we saw the markup copy and everything, and it's quite a cleanup. Once again, staff doing a great job at just making things coherent. Really, really appreciate that. Director Doolittle, have any questions or comments?
Yes, I had wondered about this. Is this just a change in the wording of these policies, or is there additional changes? I mean, I've read it 3 or 4 times, but I'm a little bit confused. And I did look at the marked up copy.
Mostly it was moving items from certain sections. So we had 3 sections that really included some piece of the guidance. And so we've consolidated that information into one section. So it's not redundant, it's not partially here, it's not partially there.
Okay.
There were a few things. One major thing that was removed, which the board may recall, some years ago, we enacted what I call a 3 strikes rule. That basically became obsolete because of the owner request for tenant water service. That was no longer needed. It was no longer in effect because we no longer had the opportunity for property owners to have tenants that remain with uncollected debt. The owner request for tenant water service requires that they either pay that debt in order to establish a new tenant there, or they need to put those accounts in their own name. And so that was all in place, but that particular piece about the 3, I have it right here, within a 3-year period, if there's a closed account in the name of other than the property owner, the property owner will be notified upon a 3rd occurrence of an unpaid water bill that's left when the tenant vacates. That no longer can occur because of the subsequent changes that were made, the owner request for tenant water service. So that was taken out, but everything else was really just moved from one section to another.
One of the questions I have about this is whether or not a tenant could be living in a house and the landlord has to pay the water because the tenant stopped paying the water, and the tenant is refusing to move. It's a make me move situation. And would the landlord then be continuing to pay the water? Because of constructive eviction, you can't turn off the water. So
Right.
I was just wondering about that.
So if there's a tenant in place and the account is currently in the tenant's name or in the owner's name, you're thinking if it's in the owner's, the tenant, okay.
The tenant's name, and the owner started paying it because the tenant has stopped paying it.
So we would collect only from the tenant and require the tenant to pay. We do send a copy of a final disconnect notice to the landlord so that they're aware of any tenant that's not paying. However, we would not allow, if that account disconnected, we would not allow that landlord to have another tenant in place until that debt was resolved. So either the tenant would need to pay it, the owner would need to pay it, the owner would need to put the account in their name going forward. There are a few different situations that could arise there. We also have property managers involved in some of these situations, so it does tend to get a little bit complicated. But basically, if the owner took over paying on the tenant's account, we wouldn't necessarily even know that. We wouldn't necessarily know what is happening between the owner and the tenant. We would only know whether or not there was a balance accruing on that account. And when that account actually disconnects is when it comes into our hands, really.
All right.
I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Yes, thank you.
President Unger?
Sorry, Director Jarlsberg, you're next.
I just have a little bit of comment because the current situation, obviously, with the COVID-19 standards, I guess we might call it, it makes it a lot more complicated than what you've tried to do in cleaning up this routine. It makes sense, but I'm sure that probably for 2021, there's going to be more complications with this not being able to turn off water. And
yeah, we actually have, we're under a moratorium right now from the governor since April of 2020.
yeah,
And I'm going to have a little bit of an update later with some statistics related to that. But I will say that there is a whole separate collections policy in our rules and regs that was developed as part of SB 998, which took effect last year. I think it was in February of 2020. And we actually were not cutting off accounts in February already. And in March, because we were trying to get on track with the extended cutoff period of SB 998, and then COVID kicked in. So
right.
Yes, you're right. It is going to potentially complicate things a little bit more, especially in the sense that tenants may be accruing higher balances right now than they normally would. We would normally be running a cutoff process that would avoid that happening. And so we're prepared to work with our customers to work through that.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. So basically this resolution probably isn't going to take effect till the COVID-19 thing is over, I'm guessing. I mean, it'll be our standard procedure.
For normal times?
For normal times, yes.
It is already, we are already doing the owner request for tenant water service. That was passed in 2019, I believe. Yeah, October of 2019. So we're already doing that, and we haven't really had pushback from owners about that yet. But again, it's been a unique year. So what happens going forward will definitely be to be determined.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Director Reynolds, what do you got?
Thank you so much. Well, I don't want to get too carried away, but this will lead into my report from my special districts meeting, which will come in, I think will come in potentially very handy for how we're going to handle it. And what I'm alluding to is the debt, the past due delinquent debt is rising exponentially. It's right here with our water district. It's come to my attention how rapidly that number is increasing. And so this is going to be something that needs to be addressed. It doesn't, at this point, it's not really part of the resolution we're talking about right now. The resolution we're talking about right now is more of a house cleaning and reorganizing of that one item. And so I'm all for it. Let's move forward. And I'm looking forward to a report in the very near future of where we are and what's happening with the rapidly increasing past due balances. With that, I'm all done.
Vice President Flowen.
Yes, ma'am. What impressed me in Ann's analysis that was on page 1 of her segment here was the part where it says regarding effective debt collection. It enables the district to reduce or avoid bad debt that would be collectively borne by the other ratepayers in the district. And people will. We have a lot of people in our district, our customers, that struggle to pay their water bill, and when certain other people do not pay their water bill, possibly even for good reason, the burden falls on people that are also struggling. You know, roughly a third of us, I guess, are below the poverty line, which for a family of one is something like $12,000 a year, $12,800. So that kind of a thing is kind of triggers me. I'm also kind of detected how we did navigate in, out, and around Senate Bill 998, and that all worked out. They're hand in glove. There's no conflict there that I could detect anyway. And if I can find this third thing, I noticed, we have that, it's in the administration portion of our website where we indicate what our vision is, what our values are. And under our values, there's about 5 of them. And the 4th one is fiscal responsibility. And it says that one of our values is to manage all resources as if they were our own, whether revenues, assets, or water supply, in a conscientious and appropriate manner. And I think what we're doing here is we're exercising some conscientiousness in pursuit of plugging a leak in our revenue, and I support that. Thank you very much.
Very good, very good. And I have nothing to add, and I will look for an adoption of resolution number 21-1029. Do I have a first?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And do we need a roll call vote on this, Mark?
Yes, please.
Okay. Director Doolittle.
Aye.
Director Jarlsberg.
Aye.
Director Reynolds.
Aye.
Vice President Flowen.
Aye.
And I too am an aye. Thank you. Moving right along to item number 8, director meetings, reports, and also comments. We have kind of worked at making sure we can, without violating the Brown Act, give the directors a chance to comment on things, and also to certainly report on meetings they've attended. So this is that opportunity for members of the board to report on meetings and provide general comments for informational purposes only, not that we will be taking them up. My agenda copy says, please limit comments to 5 minutes. So I'm going to start with Director Doolittle.
Oh, and I'm being asked to comment on.
Oh, on some. Do you have any comments? General comments, maybe a comment on something you heard tonight, or do you have a meeting to report on that you've attended?
We had our ops meeting, but I imagine that'll be covered by the general manager's comments. So I will certainly defer to him. No comments from me.
Director Jarlsberg, how about you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I attended the, for the first time for me, the Mojave Water Agency board meeting on February 11th, which was eons ago. I don't really remember a lot of it, but I do have a few notes. It lasted almost 3 hours because they spent most of the time going through part 2 of their strategic planning, which is really fun, you know. And basically it was a final refining of what had already been discussed probably endlessly. So they expect the final draft in March. Lucky you, whoever gets to go. And there were questions throughout it about their vision statement, which I kind of related to because we've gone through some of that. And also questions regarding the state water use standards in priority initiatives. That's what I wrote a note. Maybe somebody knows what that's about. And then there were no reports, which I thought was kind of odd, from all the different areas. And then there was a period at the end of the meeting for directors' reports. There's no legal report. And Jim Ventura was the only one that spoke. He's the president, I believe. And I was curious to hear what he said because I, know about him a little bit. But his audio was terrible, and people were complaining about it, that we couldn't understand what he said, and he was jiggling it around and everything. So I don't really have any substantive report.
Thank you. Director Reynolds.
Oh, wait a minute, I have a comment.
Oh, okay, go. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, and I need to know. I'm sure you'll keep me on whether this is appropriate or not. I have been reviewing some of the other water districts in our area, like 29 Palms and Yucca Valley, but mainly 29, because I heard something out there, I don't remember when it was, a while ago, a comment about the fact that 29 Palms budget is a larger system and has a smaller budget. Why is that? I'm assuming part of it is we have a lot bigger area. We may not have more users, but we have a lot bigger territory, I'm assuming, because 29 Palms is separate from the base, which I didn't really know until I started looking at this. So anyway, I started comparing both of our budgets, and I wondered if there's any way that we could have a little workshop on it or something, or a little discussion maybe at some point.
Well, we do have on the second page, future agenda item requests. So hang on to that.
Okay.
Hang on to that, and we might find a place for that.
I'm curious to put us in context with the rest of the area.
Oh, you're right. That's good.
All right. And then just a couple of quickies on the meetings at the next agenda item. There were 2 or 3 other things I thought might be mentioned, and I'll wait till that's time.
Okie dokie. Director Reynolds, looking forward to hearing your report on the special districts meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. First, I'd like to make a quick comment. After hearing about Director Ventura finally being president of the Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors, I'm pleased and excited. I've been attending the MWA meeting since 2008, and this is the first time he's been the president. So congratulations to President Ventura. He's a good man. I know him well, and glad to hear that news. Okay, with my report, I attended the special districts meeting. It's been about a month ago, the 25th of January, as a matter of fact. And every month, the special district puts on somebody gives a presentation. It's hosted usually by a water agency or another special district. This time it was hosted by Cucamonga Valley Water District, and this was their very first time that they hosted an event. The presentation is something that's going to be useful for us. They usually are very useful information, but this one has particularly got my attention. With watching our delinquent monies go up and up and up and up rapidly, we're not alone. And so the presentation was, and I'll quote, supporting our customers while managing overdue balances during the pandemic. Managing overdue balances. Wow. It was presented by Eric Chamberlain. He's the field service supervisor, and Angela Orelli, bear with my pronunciation. She's a customer service supervisor. Watching my words go together. And they put on a lengthy thing, so I'm going to try to surmise it shortly. Bear with me. But they talked about where they at, and then what they want to do about it, what they have already implemented, and then how it's working. They started off with they have several tiers on how they're handling their delinquencies. Past due. And first it comes out with a delinquency notice. And that notice, it replaces the disconnect notice, obviously. And it mentions, with the COVID-19 rules and the delinquency notice, it encourages proactive customer communication, account status information. It reassures flexible payment options. And they're also wanted the customers to know that they're even accepting partial payments. Next, what they do is then they do an outboard call campaign. And so they have someone that's dedicated just to call these customers and to let them know, hey, we understand we're in a pandemic, the problems are rising, and how can we help? And then offer them some suggestions. Sometimes people answer the phone, and sometimes they're receptive to it, and sometimes they're not. More often than not, they don't answer the phone or are interested in talking about it on a telephone call. So the next step, what they do is then they go out and they hand deliver a door tag. Just like your disconnect notice, the red tag notice used to be for us. They would hand out this door tag saying the same basic thing, hey, we understand there's a COVID, there's a pandemic, what can we do to help? And so they want to basically establish a relationship, a contact with the customer. But at the same time, they want to emphasize the urgency to establish communication with this delinquency. Next is what they call a leverage technology. I like that term. And what they do is they have trained an individual that works for their water district, actually two of them, and they have gone through a training program, and they will send this person to the door and knock on the customer's door and actually make contact and discuss things with them. They bring with them a credit card reader, and they can accept PayPal. They allow payments in the field, and then they also accept, as I said, a PayPal. They have a PayPal card reader, a chip tap device, with the old Apple Pay, and several different ways that the customer can actually pay the bill right there while that representative knocks on the door and says hello. They also are able to provide an actual receipt to the parties in either email, text, and or a paper receipt. This allows face-to-face payment options and questions. They also offer easy payment processes online or the phone. But it also, they really stressed on building a relationship and interaction with the customers on a one-on-one basis. They went through a great deal of preparation and training to do this. I'm sorry this is going long. I'm gonna end this quickly. But the representative went through substantial training on how to deal with irate customers, people who don't really want to talk to somebody who's a bill collector. And I could relate to this. When I was a kid, I was a newspaper boy, and I had to go door to door and go collecting. and it became an art. And so I could appreciate what they were talking about, the training on how to talk to people and how to relate with them and say, look, you know, that bill's not going to go away. It's going to build and build and build and build. And, you know, so when this comes to an end and you're going to be faced with, holy moly, you've got months and months and months of past due, and now we can shut you off, it's going to be really bad. So you got to think about what's happening today and the future. Now they've had good success with this graph on where they were. They implemented it. I have to, let's see here. What was the date they implemented that? In August of last year. And they had $19,000 of collected debt, and it went all the way up to $36,000 as the program increased. And this was as of December of last year. So from August to December, just by implementing this, you know, they went from $19,000 to $36,000 just implementing this program. Our debt is getting to be a noticeable situation at hand as well. And so that's why I'm going to request that become a future agenda item. That concludes my report.
Good report. Thank you. Is Kathy Teague still on Rancho Cucamonga?
I did not see her there.
Oh, okay.
Usually she, and it's tough, you know, with the Zoom meetings with all these little pictures to look through. It's tough to see who's in attendance at each meeting. I missed the one-on-one. The interaction was really wonderful, and but there's also discussions of what's going to happen when this comes to be. When we are finally allowed to have actual meetings and meet in person, are we going to give an option of still doing a Zoom and in person, or just in person, or just stay within Zoom? And some people like both ways. Speaking of which, next month, the special districts meeting will be meeting for the first time live and in person at a restaurant. I'll be able to eat with somebody and say hi and interact. I am looking forward to that. I'm going to postpone my trip. If I'm in Arkansas, I'm flying out for that meeting, and no, I won't be expensing that trip.
Mike, you're one of the few directors who would actually drive, 100 miles for one of those dinner meetings. So
I have over I don't know how many years I've gone to these 6, 8, 10 years or whatever. You develop relationships, and we're able to talk about what's problems we have and share with other members, board members, especially of other districts. And together, one or two people are a small group, but then when you put together an army of a couple hundred people, now you've got some horsepower, and you put all those brains together and you've got a lot of great ideas.
Thank you. Good report. Good report.
Usually I don't jabber on that long, but this was a real important thing to share with y'all.
I agree. And I went ahead and put a couple things under the future agenda items, and a bad debt kind of a recap or whatever. I think it'd be really important.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Vice President Flowen, what do you got?
Oh, not a lot. It is that memory thing that occurs when you haven't been to the meeting for a really long time. But I did attend the Morongo Basin Pipeline Commission meeting. And I wrote a date on it here somewhere. A couple of things that I thought were interesting. Yeah, it was February 10. One of them was, regarding the water rate that we pay for our water purchases. I think we're budgeting something like $500,000 a year to purchase water. Well, the DWR, Department of Water Resources, from upstream, so to speak, up the financial stream, is being essentially forced to install solar panels to generate power to do the pumping that they do, or whatever they do. And there's a considerable expense to that. And that overhead, that increase in their overhead up there, it obviously flows downhill just like the water does. And so we can conceivably see an increase in the rate that we pay for those acre feet of water that we're able to buy with roughly $500,000. This is excluding any banking stuff, which is done at, as I understand it, no cost. I had assumed that when President Unger assigned me to attend these Pipeline Commission meetings that I would be there. Stacy is smiling because she knows what I'm going to say. I had assumed that I was going to be a passive observer there. However, our friend Jim Ventura, who participated in these meetings, they nominated or selected their officers for the upcoming year. And Bob Statham is going to be the president. And then my jaw sort of dropped when he nominated me to be the vice chair of this commission, the Morongo Basin Pipeline Commission. And Bob and I were both voted in without any dissenting vote. So they are quarterly meetings. And I will do my best there to represent. So everybody that's what they call a stakeholder is on the commission, and that includes us. It was formerly Bob Johnson that did that, and now it's me.
Okay.
I did also attend a couple of monitored, so to speak, a couple of the Bighorn Water Agency meetings, including the one last night, where they selected a new director up there, fellow by the name of Chapman. It was on the radio this morning also, I noticed. But they got through that a little bit cleaner than we have occasionally done ourselves, shall we say. Pardon my spurs. But that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Bighorn's come a long way. And I kind of piggybacking on a couple of things. I wanted to, our latest Aqua newsletter had an article, the State Water Board staff, they presented the results of their survey on the COVID-19 financial impacts on California water systems. And it was pretty much as, dire. One of the things they found was that two statewide surveys. They use small water districts like ours and also large ones, but they found that there was at least $600 million in customer drinking water debt just since COVID. And they said that household debt has been estimated here. This is just, California. Household debt at least $1 billion. They said some of the debt, is all kinds of services, other utilities and such. But it was really quite striking, and so this is a big problem. They said that out of the results, the staff for the State Water Board said that an estimated 1.6 million households have some level of water debt. 1.6 million. Of those, an estimated 155,000 accounts have debt of over $1,000. And so that's, that was very timely at Rancho Cucamonga. And then I went to that first Mojave Water special meeting on the strategic plan update. And I did think of Vice President Flo, and he did ours, and I think he still has, night terrors over it. And it was a long workshop. It was 3 hours. It could have been 4, but none of the other directors were prepared for it. They didn't understand how long this was going to be. It took a lot of delays with people logging on. And yes, President Ventura had a lot of trouble with his audio, but thankfully he had like a grandkid there who got him hooked up. I guess the other meeting didn't have that help. They were working with this consultants from HDR Engineering from up in Sacramento. And their original plan had been adopted in 2002 and a last update in 2006.
Oh.
Yeah. And one of the new board members, a fellow by the name of Mike Limbaugh, he's actually a returning member, I found out. He worked on the original in the early 2000s. And they definitely talked about risk. And some of those sobering risks are with the State Water Project and Department of Drinking Water, costs. Some of them have to do with environmental restrictions due to the climate change and the rising sea levels that do threaten the delta with saltwater, infusions, and the long-term decline in a sustainable water supply for Mojave. That just their basin management, all the different basins that are many of them are in groundwater overdraft threat, population growth, and how to respond to that. Aging infrastructure, financial issues with all of these increase the DWR cost, the water purchasing cost. I think that was brought up, as well as just capital investment needs. And so they're looking to create a risk register by department at Mojave and to have that risk register with, mitigation strategies. And they're going to have that by the end of the year. The purpose of the update, they said, is to do any and every act necessary to ensure enough water is there for present and future needs. But the consultant, he warned of the effect of uncertainty on those objectives. And he kind of described a bow tie diagram. He said, uncertainty's on the left, the consequences on the right, and all those objectives are right in the middle. And they worked on definitions for things like what is sustainable and what is reliable. They discussed the mission and the vision statements, the core values, and how to achieve them. There was a good PowerPoint presentation that structured the session. And I was really impressed by the thoughtful contributions of the new and returning members. They really stepped up with the veterans on the board. I was really impressed. And so Director Jarlsberg, you went to the second one, and they are hoping to wrap this up in March. So
That's what they said.
Yeah. And one of the side notes, Director Kimberly Cox, she was concerned about the impact of illegal pot grows on the county's water supply and its water quality. And our rep, Jim Ventura, he brought up the out-of-hand growth of vacation home rentals and said there was over 600 in Joshua Tree.
Oh, no.
So the effect of that also, and finding all of them and getting them to accounts. So that was my report on that. So speaking of meetings, future meetings and training opportunity. Oops.
President Unger. I wondered if I see that Barbara's here from the CAC. Excuse me, and we didn't have a report last month.
We do have we have a meeting coming up on the 9th. Let me get to the future meetings.
Okay,
future
we didn't have a report from the last CAC
We
meeting.
didn't have one.
You do have one, Barbara?
No.
Oh, okay.
The meeting was canceled.
Okay. Future meetings is the Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors on February 25th. That's Director Reynolds. Citizens Advisory Council, March 9th. Finance Committee, March 10th. That's myself and Vice President Flowen. The Morongo Basin Pipeline Commission for March has been canceled. Water Resources and Operations Committee, that's also on March 10th. And that's Director Reynolds and Director Doolittle. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meeting, March 11th. I was scheduled for that, but some of us have been kind of rescheduled for an Aqua Legislative Council. So I think that meeting is going to be reassigned. And then we have our own Board of Directors meeting on March 17th.
President Unger, I think that March 11 is the morning, the workshop, the ACWA, is that what you're talking about?
Right, and so is the Mojave Water Agency meeting. They conflict. So
okay. I thought I saw
Beverly will find.
I'll contact somebody to have them take your meeting, President Unger.
Great, thank you very much. Staff comments. General
I'm
Manager
sorry,
Mark Ban.
Can I ask another question about future meetings? I wanted to ask about LAFCO. How often does that meet in?
I think they're also quarterly. Or are they monthly? Trying to remember.
We can't hear you, Mark. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you. I believe it's quarterly, but we can go add it to the list.
Okay, just curious.
Staff comments, General Manager Mark Ban.
Perfect. So one good thing we got pushed out this week was the office remodel over to the county. We're actually able to go through building and safety rather than a normal construction project. So it's considered a tenant improvement. So the costs are cheaper for the permit itself, and hopefully we'll be able to get that permit quicker too, going through that way. So my last conversation was if it wasn't too big of a project, they should be able to get us something back in a few weeks. So following that, we'll get some bids out with a mandatory walkthrough with interested contractors, so everybody's on the same page, and hopefully get some costs and get something going with that real soon. Kind of running in parallel with that, that actually occurred today too, was the district's upgrade of its internet service. We're actually getting fiber installed. We've got quite a few little internet lags that all of employees gotta consider, especially with us having to feed the shop out back as well. And so this will provide us with a lot more steady internet connection. I think it was, can't think of the name of the construction company out there today. Jim, what was it?
It's Cochrane Communications.
Cochrane.
So you'll be seeing them around the district's parking lot and by the garden there over the next couple of weeks, hooking that stuff up for us. We're actually working on this next couple months, closing out our grant with the Department of Water Resources that we received for the Saddleback project. If you remember correctly, that was close to about $100,000 in grant monies. We've got about close to $40,000 to get reimbursed with in the next quarter. And then hopefully the final project report will be going out on that as well, which will thankfully get rid of a monthly reporting requirement that we have with them. So let's see here. You have one thing on AutoCamp real quick, just a quick kind of visual for everyone here. If I can share my screen. That one. So kind of just a plan view for right now, if everybody can see that. We actually have Sam White, who is the project manager of that project. He'll be attending our March 17th meeting, and we'll kind of provide some renderings of what the facility will actually look like once it's completed. We'll get into the wastewater system that's going to be installed over there in a little bit more detail, some water use figures and things like that. But just to kind of familiarize everybody with where the project is, if you don't know already, here's Verbania Road off to the left. We've got the large apartment complex across the street from it there, not too far from the district's office. And just off the page down here where you can't see is Sunburst, of course. So their ingress and egress is actually going to be off of Verbania Road. Pretty tight road there with all the traffic with the apartment complex across the street there too, but at least it is off Verbania Road rather than coming off of Sunburst, which I know is a big issue with the Dollar Tree project as well. So they'll have this serpentine driveway basically that kind of circles back through. Will there be parking? I don't know if everybody can see them, but there's several of these Airstream trailers parked along that, trees and decking that they're going to install around it, all drought resistant plants. And over here at the start of the project, by the I guess that would be the eastern driveway there, they'll actually have some amenities, a clubhouse. They'll have a vending machines, things like that. I do believe they're going to put in a kind of a a serve as you need type restaurant where they'll sell like packaged sandwiches and things like that. So, but a lot more to come on this project as far as an update goes on March 17th. So I know everybody's anxious to kind of get an update on that. So a few things for Kathleen. Let me get this off my screen if I can here. Everybody still there? Yeah, okay. All right, so a couple things for Kathleen, since she's not here tonight. First is the Desert Edible Gardening class, which is about 4 hours long. The initial Zoom class for February 23rd and 24th filled up in less than 24 hours. So we had good attendance there. Due to an overabundance in registrations, we had to add, she added 2 more classes to that. So those will occur in March on the 10th and 11th, and then on the 15th and 16th. So folks that didn't get to attend then can catch that class. They have 112, or we have 112 registrations, many of which are couples that are screen sharing, which increases the number of participants for those. So double pretty much of what we actually had signed up for it. Native plant sales coming up. The Water Education Day once again is postponed because of the restrictions that we have with COVID. We are able to offer and safely execute a spring native plant sale though, with social distancing and masks, so that part will still be on. However, there is some question of whether or not we can sell some of the Joshua tree seedlings moving forward. Now, we did have those cultivated prior to the new rules and regulations that were put into effect, but we'll make sure that we're in the green before we move forward with selling any of those. Let's see, the traditional seed and plant swap booth will also be offered in accordance with the same COVID-19 health and safety guidelines and that we practiced last fall. Garden tours as well will be offered during the brief afternoon event with an emphasis on BLM wildcrafting. Signs and signups for the upcoming May wildcrafting course will also be there. Both the current Bureau of Land Management and AWAC grants are covering the costs and the media promotion of all those events. So, and then the farmers market, the March theme for the market booth will focus on water conservation via promotion of native plant gardening and our native plant sale. And a secondary theme offered will be fixing water leaks, especially during the winter time here where those seem to go up on the residential side of things. So, and then I just wanted to touch real quick too, before moving forward. You know, when we're discussing some of the budgets for different agencies and things like that, it's really hard to pinpoint why one agency's budget may be a little bit more. You are correct in that, you know, they do have more meters than we do, but you are also correct in the fact that we maintain about 100 miles more worth of pipe. We've got about, I think, 10 to 12 square miles larger of a district. And 29 Palms Water District actually went through the same things that we're going through now, probably 2 decades ago with their CIRP program. So they actually installed all new pipe throughout their system several years ago. So they don't have the number of leaks that we have. It comes down to you know, all water agencies, all public agencies, in fact, have an issue with deferred maintenance, of course, that lines that up, that the district is really giving a huge push towards currently right now in replacing a lot of our facilities. And so, you know, all these things require, you know, additional staff, require additional efforts. And, you know, we do a great job here of everybody wearing several hats and shirts and and everything. So it's hard to kind of pinpoint. Groundwater recharge is another thing that we do that 29 Palms doesn't. But, you know, certainly something we can look at and kind of gauge some of their things. It's something that we do look at when we're going through budgetary processes. In fact, especially when we're looking at salary ranges and things of that nature. But, you know, certainly something to good with. But there's a lot of variables that are required in there too. So, and I believe that does it for me.
And also 29 Palms, they are increasing their rates. They realize they had to do that, and so they're in a rate increase. And yeah, when we do our rate increases, we certainly, you know, compare ourselves with our other local agencies. And we might all be in the desert, but we're all different. We all have a very different water systems and serve people in different ways and all that. But thank you, Mark. That's, and definitely look forward to hearing the auto camp guys. Let's see what they're up to. Director of Operations, Mr. Corbin.
President Unger,
Oh, yes.
Director Doolittle had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question at this
Yes,
point?
yes. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. Go ahead, dear.
Yes, hi, General Manager Ban. I wanted to ask about what has been happening in light of the Florida security breach.
Oh, great. I'm glad you put that on there. I had it on my my binder and I didn't put it on my iPad here. So that's a great question there. So as we all know, Florida had an issue at one of their treatment plants where a chemical was actually injected that they utilize within the surface water facility that they have there. They were actually utilizing a third-party program called TeamViewer. And it was a platform for their employees basically to communicate with one another and set schedules and chat back and forth on some issues that they were having at the plant, just kind of everyday maintenance. The issue is that, SCADA being a very important system, you want to try to limit the number of third-party applications and things like that you actually connect to that system. And the reason being that we put a lot of money into making sure that that system is robust and has a lot of protections through various firewalls and antivirus protection, all these other things. But then you take a third-party application and you connect it to that, especially if it's available to people remotely, like that TeamViewer was. It actually allows people who are hackers to get into that system a lot more easily than they would if that application wasn't there. So. Luckily, we don't utilize applications like that that are connected to our SCADA system, and we spend a lot of time and money communicating with our SCADA provider and making sure that our SCADA system is fully up to date when it comes to those protections. So another good thing that we have going with us is that the district's only chemical that it utilizes is chlorine, and currently, right now, none of that stuff is adjustable through the SCADA system. And even if it was in the future, we have ways of being able to see whether or not that was changing that wasn't created by us. So there's certainly protections there. There's certainly hackers out there that have the ability, no matter what you put in, to get through things. But all we can do is make sure that we don't offer up, some of these easier pathways for folks to get through. So safe on our end so far. And I'm not saying that as a challenge either.
Director Jarlsberg, I see you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment on Kathleen's report.
Sure, Kathleen's ready.
2 weekends ago, I went down to help out at the farmers market booth, and I had no idea what the kind of help that I was going to have to give when the tornado came through. We almost lost, everything blew away. We managed to salvage it, but it was pretty, I thought it was like 80 miles an hour. Somebody said it was actually 70, but who's counting? The poor guy next to us that sells these little pastries, they flew all over the ground. It was bad. We were fortunate nobody was hurt. That's all I got to say.
Oh, was it like one of those microburst kind of things?
Oh, no, it was not a burst. It was sustained. It was going on for about 10 minutes. It was just really scary. And
caught in a wind tunnel.
I actually hugged each other.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say she's down there with whatever challenges there are. And managed to hold it together.
Oh my gosh, Vice President Flo, and I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was absent that day. I took a sanity break, and but the following week when we assembled the tent structure, we did find out that it was damaged. And some of the locking mechanisms are a little unreliable now. Yeah, and much gratitude to Jim Radnich. He took on the assignment of trying to straighten that thing out so that it will open properly again. We'll see how it goes on Saturday. Hopefully that won't generate an expense. That's the key part.
The Director Dulo, thanks a lot for asking about that. I completely forgot. We don't meet every couple of weeks. That thing in Florida was a big deal. And Texas is going through something like that now. I saw a report they had 22 hydrants they were trying to flush. and to get all that water out. So as the water comes through, it's good water. And the guy said, if even one of those fails the test, then they're all shut down again. They're all flushing again. So big trouble there. Just awful. And if I have nothing else, I will go to, did I see a hand? I got my gallery open now. I can see everybody. The Director of Operations, Jim Corbin.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. To touch on a little bit what Mark said about the SCADA, we were contacted by the Sheriff's Department, and it looks like we'll be working with them to provide them with some information and stuff. It's yet to be determined. We haven't met with them yet. So that's also something that's interesting that they're showing an interest in it. So that's good news. I'm proud to say that the Saddleback project is all but complete. We're waiting for some finalization on permits, which we don't expect there to be any issues with that. We've torn down our yard there and we're getting ready to move it out to Tilford. And we're going to be continuing with well 14. We did some work out there today with the help of Mark. Thank you, Mark. The CIRP crew will also be working on Tilford in conjunction with well 14. As certain tasks pop up, there'll be a certain amount of people required for certain things. So we'll have them spread out as usual. Next week, we got 5 reservoirs that we have a diving company coming in to dive and inspect the reservoirs. So it's a pretty standard maintenance issue that we have. 5 years ago was the last time we had these 5 reservoirs done. And the intent is that they get in there and they clean out the bottom, they inspect it, check the coating, the integrity of the steel and drains and overflows and stuff like that. Then we get a report, and then we could take that report and translate that to budgetary needs down the road and create some priorities based off of that. So I've got a lot of reading to do for the past reports and stuff, so we could get this stuff in the budget. What else we got here? The biggest challenge over there with Saddleback was really coordinating with the various agencies, Caltrans and the county. Getting all that coordination done was kind of a big deal. And then of course, COVID. So I'm really proud of the staff, all of them on both sides. I hate to segregate us. We're all one really, but the construction and maintenance department and the CIRP crew worked well together, helping each other out. And I think considering the circumstances, they did one heck of a job out there. And for what it's worth, we received 1 complaint the whole time. And quite frankly, it really wasn't a complaint, but we took care of it. So with that, if anybody, last thing is the board can expect to see a regular monthly operations report. Once we initiate that and get it going, probably for the next board meeting or perhaps the one following. If there's anything that we miss in the initial report that you guys might want to see, just let Mark or myself know, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But just be basic information for you guys. How many leaks do we have? Anything that was unusual? How many gallons we've pumped, etc., so forth and so on. So with that said, I'll be glad to take any questions.
That sounds good. Looking forward to it. And let's hear it for the boys.
Yeah, they did an outstanding job. Brandon's there. Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, they're right there. Okay.
Yeah, Brandon really took charge of that job. And like I said, I couldn't be more proud than all the staff, considering, I mean, this COVID thing is the scheduling and stuff, and we're complying, with the work that Sarah's doing in the background, with the different reports that we have to do and daily sign-off sheets and stuff like that, and our masks and our distancing. They did a heck of a job. So I'm really proud of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see a hand up there. Vice President Flowen.
With regarding this, the inspection or clean out of the tanks, if we do a vacuuming, for example, of the floor of the tanks, and that subsequently causes water to end up running down the roads, we might want to make sure that we notify any answering services or phone customer service staff which particular tanks and where the water might flow, so that they can tell people over the phone that we're simply doing due diligence in keeping our tanks clean and healthy, and that's just a residue that's running down the road. Just a thought. You probably do that anyway, but I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We have, out of the 5 reservoirs, 4 of them have overflows that basically go into the desert, into the washes. One of them will be an issue. It's the one on Altaloma, and Altaloma is like a freeway. So we'll be notifying the highway patrol to let them know that there'll be some water there. We're only looking at probably 100 to 150,000 gallons there. And we've experienced it in the past, where most of the water will be diverted from the road, but we'll have flooded signs up and road work and et cetera. So yeah, we have taken that into consideration, and definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jim? Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I think you were just talking about my tank or my, it's up above me on Sunset. And I have seen water running down the street. And actually Sunset is in bad repair. I've been talking to the county that comes around to fill the potholes, and they said they're not ready to do any repairs on Sunset. So it'd probably be good to wait to do the repairs after any flushing is done.
Yeah, this particular reservoir is going to be up off of Altaloma and Olympic. So
Olympic. Oh, yeah. Okay. Not mine then.
Yeah. And just as a side note, since you brought up the road, that's been one of our biggest contentions with the county, is over there on Saddleback. I believe Brandon and them did about 6,100 feet of paving in a road that is not much better than a dirt road.
Right.
However, with all the cracks and the stuff, the water gets under there and ruins it. So the parts that we finished paving look really good. The rest, not so much.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're well aware of the roads and stuff like that. So the counties can be a difficult one to work with at times, but we try all the time.
Me too.
If you don't mind me adding, Jim came across a county meeting once a month, and I'll be obtaining that, and I'll take care of that. And they give up all the information of roads that are coming up for repave or chip seal and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
And if you guys like, I could add that, annually. And just like what Jim was saying, we had a rough road or two that we were on that were in pretty rough shape. We did a pretty good job. But they usually have an annual seasonal deal where they chip seal or they repave it or whatever. And I could add that in there whenever you guys want.
Oh, that'd be great. I saw the work being done. I got to ask, what is it like to build a road?
When you're in the middle of it, you do it a few times. It's like spreading dirt, but from an outside view, it looks rather difficult, but it's more the material is expensive and you're on a time constraint. It's kind of like concrete, but concrete sets longer, where asphalt and there you have a certain temperature that you can set it with. Where concrete, you can set it in any time. It'll prolong it or it'll harden quicker. With asphalt, it has to be like 51 degrees and rising, or you can't put it down at all.
Yeah.
And then with it being that cold, that means that the asphalt being hot is going to harden faster. So everyone's got to move quicker. And when you try to do longer footage, you really have to critique when you plan on doing this big, long stretch. And that was our problem between county. We've had some issues with county and Caltrans. It came down to weather. And then we lost a couple months, because of winter and rain and all that. But in the end, you do it a couple times. It's really easy.
Really.
Thank you.
And really, I hate to ramble on, but there was a couple pieces of equipment that staff came up with, Brandon primarily, and Steve fabricated a couple pieces of equipment that really made their job easier. Both of which you really can't buy necessarily. And we have some video of that and stuff, so I'll be glad to show you.
We want to see
Jane, yeah. And I know, Jane, I owe you a tour. It's coming.
Yeah.
We'll just have to coordinate, okay?
Along that line, I'm a videographer, and I've actually videoed engineers on Highway 1 replacing roadways. I know a lot about it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. We got you a new supervisor, Brandon.
There we go. We're going to save money.
Working on Highway 1. It's disappearing all the time.
Do I have any other questions or comments for Director of Operations, Mr. Corbin? We have a Director of Administration, Sarah Johnson, but I don't see her here tonight. And
Yeah, Sarah's actually out for the night, so we'll skip
did she
that.
have a report?
No, she does not.
Okay.
Doolittle had a question.
Oh, Director
Thank you,
Doolittle.
Brandon. Yes, hi. I just wanted to make sure Director Reynolds had mentioned in the operations meeting that we'd like a report on new meters or new connections. So I'm hoping that's going to go into the new operations report as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That'd also be a good one for the board, and I'm putting that on the future agenda items here. Meter update.
I got mine.
Oh, did you? Yay!
I just checked this past few days. Clean as a whistle.
Right. Then that brings us to Director of Finance, Ann Roman.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to give a collections update tonight. I'm going to try not to bore you with too many statistics, but I do have a lot. I'm going to bring some terminology into this report so that hopefully we can better be on the same page when we talk about different subsets of the debt. Before I do this, however, I did want to just say that I'm going to be conferring with Jeff in regard to the report that Mike gave about the presentation at the special districts and the idea of counseling or encouraging customers to pay during this moratorium. It's something that I think we need to tread carefully with. And so unless Jeff has any comments now about that, I will do that later.
I don't now, but I'd be happy to talk with you about it.
Okay. So I will start by saying, let me see, I want to screen share here, but I will start by saying that we are actually still sending letters and calls out to customers. So we have not stopped doing that. However, they are much more, they explain what is happening right now, basically. They are not demanding payment or anything of that sort. So we were really advised not to do that at this point. So let me try to screen share here. Mark, do I have the ability to do that?
Yep.
I do, okay. So this is the one. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Collections update. All right, so to start, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. To start, I just wanted to mention that water revenues, which actually represent the billed but not necessarily collected charges, are tracking normally. We're still billing everything as we normally would, but our collections are definitely down. So this is what people are paying, and that is down. Then we have subject to cutoff accounts. Accounts subject to cutoff are only open active service unlocked accounts. not locked basic fee accounts. And these have past due balances of 2 months or older. Our last cutoff occurred in January 2020. And as I mentioned earlier, we, in February and March of 2020, we were delaying our cutoffs for SB 998 purposes. And then in April, the COVID moratorium kicked in. So comparing our June 2020 statistics, which really were the first good statistics that I had available, with February 2021, so this month, the number of accounts that would normally be subject to cutoff has increased by 131 accounts from 142 to 273, a 92% increase from June of 2020. Total balances based on the above accounts have increased from $34,712 in June of 2020 to $142,232, $107,521 increase, or 310% since June of 2020. Just to put this in perspective, I think Mike reported that their average balances in that presentation were in the $1,000 range. Ours are running about 521. So next term, accounts receivable. So this is all accounts with balances, including current and past due balances, includes the cutoff balances above, locked and unlocked accounts, and open and closed accounts. Okay. Comparing January 2021 and January 2020, total accounts receivable has increased by $189,763 from $324,801,000 to $514,564,000, or 58%. Accounts receivable of 2 months and older has increased by $121,678 from $285,000 to $496,000 to $407,175, or 43%. So our total accounts receivable is up 58%. The 2 months and older is up only 43%. Then we move on to lien debt. So we file a lien with the county that's valid for 10 years and extendable, and it's collected when there is a transfer of property. We use these primarily for locked basic fee accounts. So we don't generally lien active accounts. Liened accounts are included in AR above. So you can see these are subsets of each other. When we use these terms, we have different statistics that we can find based on which subset we're talking about. So in the lien section, we have between January 2021 and January 2020, the balance of our liened accounts increased by $26,000 from $123,589 to $149,724, or 17%. That means we're liening more accounts and or higher balances. That's maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing. We're working harder than ever to lien what we can. And again, those are specific types of accounts. So this is something that's not available to us with everything, but these particular accounts, we are working harder and we're getting more of those out there recorded, so that when this development boom is happening right now and all these properties are transferring, we're able to collect what is owed to us before those transfers occur. The liens and bad debt collected in the quarter ending 12/31/20 versus the prior year increased by $10,485. That means we're collecting more liens and higher lien balances. And with more collected liens, just a moment. Talking too much. And with more collected liens, we also collect some unliened debt. So when we record a lien, we ask for what is accumulated on the account at the time. However, when that property goes into escrow and we're approached for the demand letter, we actually are able to communicate with the escrow company, the title company, and let them know what additional balances may need to be collected. So in addition to the $42,000 that we collected in lien balances, another $37,632 in related unlien balances were collected for a total of $80,502. Excuse me. All right, and then when we get into the bad debt section, this is our written off debt. This is non-liened written off debt. So we keep the lien debt on our books until it's paid. We also, at the end of each year, we write off bad debt, which is uncollectible 1 year past its latest due date. Bad debt related to the earliest COVID non-cutoffs through 6/30/20, only the first 3 months will be included in what we'll be writing off in June 2021. The methodology changed in 2018 when we stopped including liened accounts and bad debt. So, excuse me. Although we included, although I included here a screenshot of our bad debt history, it's difficult to do an average here because if I average it out, it averages to about $19,000 a year. However, because we changed that methodology, that skews the figures somewhat. And you can see, though, the fluctuations here. Back in 2011-12, we had $35,000 in bad debt, and then it's come down, and then it's come back up. With COVID, we definitely expect to see that go back up, but we don't expect to see most of that until June of 2022. Yeah. So that's, it's definitely something that we need to look at how we can be proactive and encourage customers to pay without, getting into any predicament. But basically, so we have here, when we talk about debt and collections, we have those accounts subject to cutoff, we have accounts receivable, we have lien debt, we have bad debt. So hopefully that terminology helps a little bit with what, so that we can be on the same page. And if you have any questions about this, I will be happy to answer them.
Director Reynolds, is this what you wanted to see?
This is exactly what I was asking for.
I knew
Holy
it.
moly. And you are the best. How did you know?
Amazing.
Can I have a copy in my cubby, please?
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
Wow, thank you. Director
Timing
Doolittle,
couldn't have
do you
been
have
better.
any? Okay. Director Doolittle, do you have any comments or questions for Ann on this?
No questions from me. Yes, I would like a copy as well, because when it comes to numbers, I need some time to study them. So I need some time to look this over. So thank you.
Yeah. Director Jarlsberg?
Likewise. I like numbers too, but I like to be able to see them.
Yeah. Director Reynolds, you want to add anything else, or?
No, I had known that these numbers were skyrocketing. 92% is just insane. And so we will need to address this and use some technology. And I understand what you were talking about. There are legal ways of doing it, and there are creative ways of getting our money. But business is business. We've got to take care of business. Watching the word gets out. Hey, it's COVID. I don't have to pay my bill. Well, that's not true, and we will be having to deal with this in a very aggressive way coming up soon, I would think. That's my suggestion. All I got to say.
And out here, if you go door to door, you're liable to be met with a shotgun. So not quite the same as, the genteel neighborhood of Rancho Cucamonga. Vice President Flowen.
Oh, I have nothing further on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ann.
You're welcome.
Well, that concludes our staff comments and reports. So for future agenda requests, I think I'll take off the bad debt for now. We did that tonight. And I do have from Director Jarlsberg kind of a comparison between us and the other districts. I know we're going to be working on our budget. That is definitely coming up. We'll all start seeing that pretty soon. And at some point in the next 12 months, we'll be looking at the rates again. But
Right.
just a kind of a little thing just to kind of see, you know, what the other districts are like here and how we compare with them, everything size-wise, infrastructure-wise, money-wise. And then an update on our meter installations. We usually get these, and I know that if there is something, we usually get in a staff report, get a meter update, but that would be interesting too. I think we'd like to know that.
President Unger?
Yes. Yes,
See-
there we go, Director Jarlsberg.
We also talked about possibly adding visiting the other board meetings in the area to the agenda that hasn't been done. I'm wondering if we need a discussion or is a future agenda item?
Right, how to kind of structure that, or is it
Yeah,
something
whether we
that,
can take
is it a
turns going or-
reimbursement? Is it something people can do kind of on their own?
Right.
I think that's you know, it is, I mean, I'm glad people are looking and doing, you know, checking them out. So let's see, let's call that monitoring other water districts. How would we call that?
About attending.
Attending,
I like spying.
spying.
There you go.
Just, you know, attending for informational purposes, you know, I
Yeah.
think it's, you know, attending other districts.
I'd kind of like to attend the base. I don't know that I will, but
Some things are a little more transparent than others. Do I have anything else for a future agenda item? Director Doolittle.
I know we had mentioned it in prior meetings, but getting LAFCO to present to us.
Oh, right, right.
So that's something that I think that we want. And then I think that something that we're seeing in social media is this idea that the water district can be some sort of a gatekeeper on development. And I keep seeing this being mentioned and people saying that we don't have enough water and, you know, how can we have all these people moving in here? And so some sort of presentation that discusses this and really states clearly what the water district's position is.
So I know there's the California Water Code, it very blandly asserts that all we can do is say we do or do not have water to serve a project. And I think that in recent, I don't want to get too out of covering the lines, but just in recent meetings that I've been at, this has been a discussion. I think the BIA addressed it in their water conference this summer that I went to, different districts in that. People are looking at how do we, that sustainability, availability of water and the demands of growth, you know, it seems like they're looking to give water districts and agencies a little more, you know, but that's certainly something that, yeah, it's a big issue out here. Definitely. Call that, just try to figure how to call that. What would you call that, Director Doolittle? Water district and growth or in development or
Inflation.
idea. President Unger, I have an idea.
yes, go ahead, Director Jarlsberg.
Happened to my internet here.
Yeah.
It froze for a minute. I think it's governance that I was kind of had some thinking along those lines that we're probably as close to a city council or Joshua Tree City Council that there is, and that there is a certain responsibility that maybe we do or do not accept, but I think it has something to do with governance of our community.
So
And
sort of the kind of the parameters of a water district's
Yeah.
governance. Did you get that, Beverly?
What do you think?
So that's good, and that's all part of a good overview of what we are mandated to do by the state. What is our our jurisdiction? So let's say call that governance.
Brandon, are you crying?
He's going, God, I'm going to chew my leg off to get out of this trap of a meeting.
No, I wanted to say a comment, but I didn't want to say a comment as an employee, more of a customer.
Jeff, can we do that? Where's Jeff? We're kind of into future agenda item requests.
You can certainly accept public comments on the item.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine was more just, I thought Ann did an amazing job on her project there, because that was a lot of work, and I can tell you that. Everyone will agree that was a lot of work. But also, everyone needs to understand that everyone's in a hard time, and we understand that the state put this on us for a reason, because the stimulus checks that they're spitting out isn't anything. The small businesses are going under, you know what I mean? And they're still under. So I think we're doing our best to take care of everyone in the right basis. That was it.
Thank you. Thank you. I think so too.
And also with Well 14, I think that's a huge project. It's huge. And I think it would help with growth 100%.
Oh, yes.
Interesting. Before we get color too far outside the lines, I think I'm going to ask if I have a motion to adjourn. Anyone? Oh, okay. Second and second. Thank you, everybody. It was a great meeting. We are adjourned at 8:17. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.